Hey, today we're going to go through one of my latest little projects, and that is the ALT Macropad. It's got the capability to have 3 rotary encoders up top, or 2 switches and 1 rotary encoder, however you want to switch it up. 6 switches, got a Pro Micro with a OLED display, nice little sandwich board, and some silicone feet. So let's get into building it. All right, I've already taken the time to put in the diodes here. They're very simple. Just bend and insert, matching the black stripe with the black stripe on the PCB. And then bend the legs out a little bit. Let's get these soldered in real quick, and then we can move on to the rest of the project. We're going to try out this Miniware TS100 that I just got. Right. Like maybe 300 degrees isn't quite enough. So this kit was designed to be a simple through-hole solder job, good for a first kit or somebody who needs practice soldering. Good introduction to QMK using the Arduino Pro Micro. Fun little kit all around. Awful solder. There we go, much better. Okay. Now that we have all those diodes soldered in, let's clip the leads. You save the leads for later use. They're good with the, oh, I forget the name of the headers. Milmax headers. Super happy with that other solder that we had there. Quick dab. All right. So now that we have our diodes all soldered in, let's get on to putting in the rotaries. I have 3 of these EC11 rotary switches here. The way I've got the circuit board designed, each of these top 3 slots can take either a Cherry MX style switch or one of these. Goes in like that. So what I have found is they're a little loose and I didn't like bending the legs. So we'll just put a little solder here against the leg and secure the little tabbies. Once we get the tabs in place, verify that everything is nice and flush, then we'll move on to the next step, which is soldering in the actual switch poles and rotary poles. Right, so we've got those tacked in by their legs. Sitting down how we want them. So let's get those soldered in. And we will start with these up here. And move down to the rotary legs. And then we'll go and just tack these guys in a little better. All right, and it is completely fair to make fun of my crap soldering. I am not a very good solderer, but I can make things work. So there we go. Now we have 3 rotary switches, or rotary encoders, that also will act as switches. We can slot in our MX style switches, and these are what? These are Durock 67 gram tactile smokies. These are PCB mount, so they have the little lugs that snap into the holes and keep everything nice and in alignment. And especially for such a small project. I didn't feel it was necessary to build a plate. Okay, here we have our switches ready to go. Make sure everything is through the holes. We didn't bend any pins. And we'll solder those guys in place. Right. So, the way I've got this designed, the Pro Micro can sit either on top like that, or you can sandwich it underneath, whatever you think is best. There are pads for a reset switch on the bottom. If you sandwich it underneath, you're going to block those pads. I have been installing the Pro Micros up top just for access to the pads later on. I like to take the headers and the long ends go into the holes. That in the vise, and all right, so everything is kept pretty much in alignment with the way it is. Let's get a couple corners tacked in. And I like to do all four corners. And then flip it over and we'll put a glob of solder. That's a technical term, of course. Basically do the same thing we did with the rotaries. Get our solder lined up with the outside pin there and just get enough to tack it down. And we'll do the same with this pin here. Okay. Put this back in the vise and run through these pins. Securely in the vise. Inspect those joints. They probably look terrible, but they're all there. Okay. Next up, we'll finish off soldering the Pro Micro to the pins. Okay, and I've got a couple boogered up, so let's get those taken care of. Good job of bridging this one. Okay. So we'll inspect these, make sure that we're good. Okay, ugly joints, but they'll work. Next thing to do is install the headers for the OLED. I have found that if you take your header and you kind of push the plastic piece towards the short end, that's kind of where you want to be. You want it just so it's barely sticking out past the circuit board. To make this process go a little easier, take a little piece of this double-sided thick tape. I think this is Gorilla brand. Cut a little strip. And we will take the plastic layer off. Put that on the bottom side of our OLED. Just like this. What this is going to do is help stick the OLED in place and also provide a little insulation for these pieces on the bottom. All right, so we have our headers, we have our OLED. Let's get everything lined up. Go, stick that down. And now, should be everything is nice and parallel. No weirdness going on. If you're happy with the orientation, go ahead and solder that OLED into place. Check the joints. SDA pin needs a little work. Okay. Last step. Got our pins just barely sticking through. Will help. There you go. Everything is soldered in place. Pull the protective screen off, I suppose. Now, the way I built the kits, they come with, get this out of the way, come with rubber feet, knobs for your rotaries, and some spacers and screws. Get these guys installed. Put the screw in the hole, thread on the spacer. That's not the right screw. Okay. So the back plate, this is the side that's intended to be facing down. This is the side it's intended to be facing up. The neat thing is you can have it any which way you want. So if you like the moon and the words, go for it. If you want the just a simple alt logo, go for it. I'm going to install it as I intended, just like this. It mirrors the back of the PCB. Now, I will say it would probably be a good idea to have tested this prior to putting the back plate on, just because you know there's going to be problems with the solder joint or something if you do install everything together without testing. But I'm not going to flash this one just yet. I wanted to show everybody how to put it together. Okay. Put the rubber feet on. These can really go anywhere you like. I tend to put them out towards the sides, right next to the screws. Put our rotary caps on. All that's left is to put your keycaps on that you like and flash it with firmware. Oh, all right. I hope that was educational, if not at least a little entertaining. The whole kit can be put together in less than 30 minutes, a couple seconds to flash it after you build your firmware. All right, thanks guys, and have a great day.